Trying to save a few bucks could cost you thousands when it comes time to sell. I've seen homes sit on the market, lose value, or worse, get laughed at in showing feedback, all because of just one thing: cheap upgrades. Buyers don't just see your home, they feel it. And if it feels cheap, it's a red flag. So let's talk about what not to skimp on if you want top dollar for your home when it comes time to sell. Everyone wants to save money. I get it. And upgrades are expensive. But in 20 years of selling homes, I can tell you, when you go cheap, you almost always pay for it later, either in having to complete repairs or by taking a lower sales price. In fact, it reminds me of a story of a couple that I worked with just a few years back. Let's call them, say, Mark and Lisa. They decided to freshen up their kitchen before listing their home. Now, unfortunately, they did this before they actually talked to me. And like everyone out there, they didn't want to spend too much, so they went the budget route. $5,000 later, they had a new peel and stick backsplash, kitchen cabinets from IKEA, and some shiny off-brand appliances that they found on clearance. Now here's what I'll tell you, from a distance, in photos, it actually looked decent. You couldn't tell. But once buyers started walking through, it fell apart. Literally. One cabinet door wouldn't close, the fridge had a dent and wobbled when you opened it, and on top of that, the backsplash was already starting to peel. And here's the thing, buyers didn't just notice, they commented on it loudly during my open house. The feedback: this kitchen looks like a DIY project gone wrong. So what was the end result? Well, after sitting on the market for almost 45 days, they ended up conceding a $25,000 credit to the buyers, basically agreeing that the kitchen would have to be completely ripped out and remodeled. So what was supposed to be a quick facelift actually turned into a huge red flag. That $5,000 upgrade actually cost them money and time. And here's the worst part. Had they done nothing at all, they probably would have sold the home faster and for more money. Now, with that said, I'm one of those real estate agents that believes that you don't need to completely remodel your home to get top dollar, but at the same time, leaving it as is and not doing anything is probably not the right approach either. There's somewhere in the middle where you probably want to focus your time, effort, energy, as well as your money so that you can ultimately get top dollar. But with that said, I'm one of those firm believers that believes paint and flooring can transform a property. I've sold a lot of foreclosures in my day, and one of the very first things we would do is we would walk into a property, we would paint it, we would change the flooring, and it would completely transform that property. But what I'm seeing at the moment is a lot of people putting new flooring in their property, but instead of putting like a higher quality grade flooring in their home, they're going the cheap route. And now, no, I'm not talking about laminate flooring or LVP flooring. I'm actually a huge proponent of that flooring. I like that flooring a lot. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that absolutely hate it, but I believe if you get a nicer grade, a higher quality laminate flooring, it can actually help you sell your home for more money. But more of what I'm talking about in today's video is the peel and stick flooring. More of the old school vinyl stuff that used to be in bathrooms. And on top of that, I see painted concrete as well as the laminate sheet flooring that just looks really, really cheap. And one of the main issues with this flooring is not only how it looks, but how it wears. Over time in this flooring, you can actually see walking patterns. You can see where people have been. And oftentimes when people are installing this cheaper flooring, they're also getting cheaper labor to do it. Many times people are doing it themselves or hiring cheap labor. So the flooring's not being laid properly to start. And what happens in situations like this is when a buyer walks into a property and they feel like the owner has done cheap upgrades, or they feel like the owner isn't taking care of the property in certain ways by doing things cheaply, they think, well, if they're not taking care of this stuff that I can see, what else aren't they taking care of? So rather than go the cheap route, what I would recommend is going more with an engineered wood or a higher quality vinyl plank. Because not only is it going to be durable, it's going to be more stylish, and ultimately it's going to be worth the higher cost, because not only are you not going to have to replace it as often, but it's also going to look better in person, especially if you have buyers walking through your home. Now, the next one I want to talk about are prefabricated cabinets, prefab cabinets. Now, I know I'm probably going to get some hate for this, but what I'll tell you in my experience is most prefab cabinets are cheaply made. Not only do many of these cabinets not have soft close, but they have cheaper fixtures. Many times the drawers, the doors don't line up properly. They end up breaking over time, and it just looks lower quality overall. Now, if you're one of those people putting prefab vanities or something in a bathroom, like a smaller cabinet, then I think that's okay. most of the time. But if you're doing prefabricated cabinets in the kitchen, or in some cases maybe you're going to IKEA and buying cabinets, sorry, yes, I'm shitting on IKEA cabinets, but the reality is the quality isn't there, especially for somebody that uses cabinets a lot. If you're somebody that's never home and you never open or close the cabinets, then it may not be a big deal. But if you're someone who likes to use your kitchen, you like to cook, you have kids opening and closing doors, trust me, you want a higher quality cabinet. Now, you don't necessarily need dovetailed drawers, but what you want is something that isn't cheap, that isn't going to break, that's something that's going to have a lifespan to it, because when buyers feel like you've spent money in the areas that matter to them, then it hits with them emotionally, and then they can justify things logically down the road, right? They may be willing to forego some other issues in the home if they feel like the areas that they truly care about are taken care of. But if they walk into a property and they really want a nice kitchen and you've done a crappy job on the kitchen on the remodel, then chances are every other issue is also going to stand out. So in my opinion, the solution is go to middle grade cabinets. You don't have to go super custom, super high end, but on the flip side, don't also go with the super low end cabinets either. Another option might be if you have solid wood cabinets already in your home, maybe you paint those, maybe you reface them, maybe you come in and you replace the hardware with nicer quality hardware versus just ripping all of those cabinets out and replacing it with something cheap. And while we're on the topic of kitchens, if you're replacing your appliances, go with a name brand appliance. You don't have to go with the high-end appliances. You don't need GE built-ins or Thermador or any of these super expensive brands unless you're in a luxury home. If you're in a luxury home, couple $1,000,000, and you're replacing the kitchen, then you need to do what other homes in that neighborhood actually look like, right? You want to match what buyers in those areas are looking for in their homes. They're probably looking for custom cabinets. They're probably looking for high-end appliances. But for the majority of people out there, you don't need that. But you also don't want the bottom of the barrel either. You want a name brand out there. The appliances in theory should match. So if you have stainless steel stove and dishwasher, then you probably want a microwave to match, a refrigerator to match. You don't want a black stove, a white refrigerator, stainless steel dishwasher. You don't want all of these mismatched appliances. You want appliances from a brand that you know, that you trust, and that you know are going to work through the years, especially if you use them a lot. Now, before we dive into the next one, I want to take a quick pause and ask a favor. If you're finding this helpful at all, do me a favor and hit that like button. And if you're serious about selling smart, make sure you subscribe to the channel. My goal with the channel here is to help you avoid the most common, the most costly mistakes so that you can ultimately sell your home for top dollar. Now, I know there's a lot of gurus out there telling you one of the easy things you can do in your home to change the appearance is change the fixtures, change the lighting in your home in order to kind of change the appearance or how buyers perceive it. And while I agree that is true, but what I see a lot of people out there is go the completely cheap route, right? They go to Home Depot, they buy the cheapest light they can find, or in some cases the cheapest fixtures they can find, and they end up installing them in their home. Well, here's the thing. Cheap metal rusts, and in many cases it discolors, which makes these fixtures sometimes seems more dated than they actually are. So with that said, you want to use finishes that actually last long, something like a brushed nickel, or in some cases matte black or aged brass. And with that, you want a cohesive style throughout the home. If you're going to replace the lighting in, say, the living area, but you got a kitchen where you're going to keep the old lighting, then you probably just want to keep it all the same, or replace it all, which is my recommendation. But when you replace it, go with something middle grade. I think the common theme here with this video is don't go super cheap, don't go super expensive, but go somewhere in the middle because it's going to help you get the most bang for your buck. Now, before I talk about the last one, which is where I really think you should focus the most of your money, I want to talk about replacing interior doors. A lot of people replace the doors of their homes because the style changes over time. But what most people don't realize is there's a big difference between a low quality door and a nice door in a home. Now, what happens is typically with bedrooms, you have full solid core doors, which means they're not hollow at all. And the reason they do these doors on, say, bedrooms and bathrooms is to prevent noise, right? So you don't have to listen to the person using the bathroom or listen to what's going on in the bedroom. It keeps it quiet in there and what have you. But what I see a lot of people doing is when they replace these doors, they go with the hollow core doors, right? There's no solid core. It's hollow inside, which means they're cheap. You can hear what's going on inside and outside of a door, but you can also feel the quality. When you open and close these doors, it's just not the same. So my recommendation is spend a little bit more money, go with a more upgraded door. not only will it improve sound insulation, but it has a little weight to it. It has a tactile feel to it. It feels more solid, which makes people think that you spent more money on it. Now, before we talk about the last one, what I would recommend is before you do any of this stuff in your house, if you're considering selling it, make sure you talk to a licensed real estate professional. Have them walk you through what they think you should be doing in your home, where you should focus your time, effort, energy, and money so that you can get the most amount of money versus just guessing and doing things that you think most buyers want. In my opinion, most sellers are wrong when they think they know what buyers want. I have these conversations all the time and they say, hey, I think I'm going to fix these items before listing. And I say, no, I would keep my money if those are the things that I would consider upgrading. I would rather you focus your money here or just keep your money and let's see what they actually come back with in the repair request, right? There's a lot of different ways to approach this. And the last thing you want to do is start throwing money at things that buyers don't actually care about. But the one thing buyers do care about are those higher ticket items in the home, typically the major systems of the home, the HVAC, the water heater, the electrical panel, the plumbing, that sort of. That's where most buyers are focusing their attention because these are the most costly items to replace. So if you're going to spend money doing these items in your home, don't go the cheap route, right? Spend a little bit more money, get a nicer name brand appliance, whether it's the HVAC or whether it's a tankless water heater, whatever it is you're doing, just make sure you go more middle of the road than you do the lower end. Because at the end of the day, not only is it going to last you for a longer period of time, it's probably one of those things that buyers won't ask you to repair or replace if it's got lifespan left on it when they're going through their inspection. So on that front, if you're somebody that's doing upgrades in your home, make sure you're hiring people that do quality work. If you're a DIYer and you're doing it yourself, make sure you have attention to detail. I see a lot of people try to do home remodels themselves and they cut corners, and you can see the corners have been cut, maybe based on the way that the tiles line up or, something's not even or what have you. So if you're going to go with unlicensed contractors, make sure you go with people who actually know what they're doing. Have them show you previous examples of other work they've completed, or make sure you're getting a recommendation from somebody that you trust who has used them in the past. Now, I've personally gone this route and used unlicensed people and gotten really crappy work that I wish I would have gone a different direction. Because at the end of the day, we all want to save money. We don't want to spend a lot of money on certain things. But what I can tell you in my experience is it pays for itself to hire the right people, even if they cost a little bit more money. Remember, cheap labor often equals expensive repairs down the road, whether that's you or the buyer looking to buy your home. So the last thing you want to do is have a buyer see potential issues, not want to make an offer because you went the cheap route to start. And that's because buyers can sense quality, but they can also sense shortcuts. What you think is saving you money today could end up costing you thousands of dollars when it comes time to sell. If you're going to upgrade, do it right. Or in my opinion, don't do it at all. It's not about going luxury. It's about making smart, durable choices. Think resale, think long-term value, think buyer psychology. How would a buyer perceive this? That said, not every project is worth doing before selling. In fact, as I mentioned earlier, some repairs are a total waste of money. I cover exactly what to fix before selling your home in this video here. Make sure you click before you waste a dime.